Whether it's a drawing or music, looking at a blank slate is one of the most liberating and intimidating things an artist will ever contend with. This is the prologue for the week of October 27th through to November 2nd of the year 2018. We are 4 years and 4 days away from the day that I realized my dream virtual reality experience. This week was primarily spent in a very awkward manner because I went from being well to sick and well to sick in a fairly rapid kind of clip, and it really made the days go by fairly awkwardly. But in spite of it all, somehow managed to get a good amount of work done. So all in all, I can say I'm pretty glad with what came out of the week, in spite of some of the difficulties that were faced getting there. It's worth noting though that we're basically 2 months away from the end of the year at this point, which means that we're not that far away from the deadlines for the 5 grand quests that we began this prologue with. Create my first game is honestly the one that I'm not really too satisfied with where it's at right now, that I might have overscoped again. So I've been kind of reworking things behind the scenes in order to try to figure out where I can cut things in order to get a product out sometime within the year. I still think I can do it, it's just not going to be anywhere near as big or as ambitious as I was thinking it would be. Which, honestly, that's just again another reminder that even when you think that you've scoped somewhat small, you're still going to have to keep scoping smaller and smaller and smaller whenever it comes to your first few projects. As for the second grand quest, which is the demonstration of the principles of my virtual reality rig utilizing a leg setup, honestly, we're practically done, really. I mean, the only functional difference between what I demonstrated in the last prologues and what I actually had to do for the Grand Quest is just the location of the electrodes. So yeah, effectively all I need to do is just get some of that craft foam and create a bit of a leg piece and stick it onto the correct locations for the electrodes, and doing that would be functionally the same as the Grand Quest that I'd initially set out upon. So in a certain sense, you could almost say that this one is cleared out already. So yeah, I'm probably gonna kind of push along the whole creation of the craft foam leg thing later on this year, but I'm not really particularly concerned with it since the most important aspect of things was finished, and all that's really being done here at this point is practically just running a victory lap. Releasing 1 video a week beginning from the first prologue. I think we've actually managed to do pretty well with that so far. I mean, we did kind of get behind there, but I managed to release a kind of video within the reasonable time frame, more or less. I'd like to kind of start adding more content little by little, and I'm looking at ways in which I can improve my day-to-day efficiency, so I can maybe sneak in another video on certain topics here and there, such as the expectation videos, which I did not too long ago. Things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to get more content in there, and honestly, there's actually going to be a bit of a change to this very series in order to facilitate this goal. So expect to see the results of that later this video. The 4th grand quest was to reach a body fat percentage of below 20%, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm starting to think this wasn't the most well thought out of all of the quests I did. I mean, the goal here is just to kind of slim down so that it could be more conducive to my virtual reality rig, but the kind of design I have in mind right now doesn't require the degree of precision that I was initially envisioning, so it's not really as necessary a point anymore. I'm relatively positive I'm not exactly there with that quest. I'm also no longer all that concerned with it, but just due to the fact that I kind of feel that the majority of the productivity that I've managed to pull off over the course of this past year has come about due to my increased health performance and the improvements that I've made in that area, I'm definitely going to continue to do things just to steadily improve my health over the course of the coming year, and I've taken some steps to do that, which hopefully we'll get to see the fruits of that, well, over time. The last grand quest that needs to be addressed here is the passing of the Japanese learner's placement test level N4. And unlike the prior grand quests, this one is very clear cut. So I've already taken the steps and I've registered for the exam. I've actually got my voucher already for the day the test comes. I still think that I need to really shore up my knowledge, so I'm definitely going to be making a push forward. I'll go into the details once we kind of go into the next quest that I'm going to be setting up, but just know that I'm going to be taking some drastic measures over the course of the next month in order to really make sure that I take that test and show what the past 11 years of independent study have been worth. So yeah, everybody, all in all, it's been a fairly productive week, and I'm really glad with the results of all my efforts over this past week, in spite of all the health issues, because going from a headache on Monday to being fine on Tuesday to getting some kind of stomach issue on Wednesday that made my chest hurt like crazy, and then just being fine on Thursday, then being kind of weak on Friday, but still managing to get a workout done at the end. It's like, it's just... Health is very important, everybody, and I just hope that it stays better going forward. Now then, everybody, to address the quest for the past week, Make Some Noise is complete. The tasks that I had to do were going through the little booklet and trying to create some kind of music thingy using what I've learned from that book, and honestly, that was a bit of an interesting conundrum for me because the booklet isn't actually all that long, everybody. You know what? Since I'm taking my first steps musically now as an adult independently, rather than having a toy brought to me or taking a class in, well, intermediate school, was it? Combining those two musical experiences, I felt that maybe adding in this third one as another kind of hint towards the beginnings of my experiences with music would be a fine thing. So let's just have that little track play here. I'm more than positive a good amount of you, if not all of you, will recognize it. Everybody, sometimes the best way to deal with being lost or not knowing what to do or just looking at a blank canvas when you're unsure what direction you want to take things is just to go back to your roots and let your heart kind of just lose itself in the nostalgia and just use that as the direction for where you want to head to. Well then, everybody, that just about does it for that quest, but it's time for me to go on to my quest for the next week of November 3rd through to November 9th. JLPTN 4 Practice Exam. I mentioned that I was going to be covering a little bit of what I'm going to be doing to study for my Japanese, and here we go, everybody. For this first week, my specific quest is going to be to complete the practice exam that they have available for the Japanese Learners Placement Test directly on their website for my level, which is going to be N4. Let's hope that by the end of this year, I'll be able to say that, yep, I passed the JLPTN 4, and I'm ready to start moving on to the JLPTN 3, and hopefully we'll be able to fulfill my personal goal of heading out to Japan during the 2020 Olympics and taking the JLPTN 2 in Japan itself. So yeah, everybody, some pretty hype stuff going on here, so let's see how things will work out. Hello, Virtual Dreamers, Gregory here, and this may seem a little bit weird, just to be hearing the usual intro thing in the middle or the end of the video, especially when you guys are probably expecting the community section, but I actually have an announcement to make in relation to that. Namely that it's actually going to be kind of cut off from the main prologue videos, everybody. One of the things I've been trying to do is just finding ways in which I can kind of make the videos easier to produce on a regular basis, and I think that you might be able to agree with the sentiment that the prologue and the kind of going through all of the extra little community aspects to it almost feels like we're kind of splitting the videos into two halves. One half me, the other half for you guys. And I feel that whenever you have that kind of a situation where you have things that can be entirely cordoned off into their own separate and individual section without much trouble, I think that kind of indicates to me that I might need to break down what I'm doing a little bit more. And one of the goals I've had this year is just to take baby turtle steps and try to slow things down and kind of chunk things out into much more manageable packets. So I want to kind of change up the usual kind of community quest and relationship that we've kind of got going on here into something a little different. I appreciate your ability to understand if you can, but I lament that we're going to be kind of taking away the regular community quests in this manner for the time being. So, if we're not having community quests, what are we going to have? Well, a monthly question block, everybody. I find that a lot of you have very good questions that you ask, and I'm relatively positive that quite a few of you are familiar with it already, but I tend to kind of write entire essays or walls of text in response to some of those good questions, and I really enjoy doing it, don't get me wrong. It's not that I want to stop replying to questions, it's just that I kind of lament that as soon as a new video comes by and people don't really watch the old ones as much, we're kind of losing that conversation, or new comments will kind of drown out some of the conversations that we've had that really give out a lot of good information. And I've been wondering, how can I resolve that for a long time? Part of the reason why I've opened up the Discord is an opportunity for some of the discussion that we have to kind of spread around a little bit more and be preserved a bit better. So one of the things I want to start doing now is a monthly question block. Namely, you guys can ask me just about any question that you have, and I'll do what I can in order to reply to some of them. I'm not going to reply to them all, but I will pick out some of the better ones, or the ones I think that you guys will really get a kick out of overall as a community, and try to answer those. I'll still try to directly answer your questions if I don't think that'll make it into the video, or even if it does, I'll still try to answer it and include it in the video as well. Some of your questions can actually be so good in some cases that I actually just want to make a straight up video about it. So in some cases, be prepared to see videos where I'm directly just kind of popping up the mic, getting the camera ready, and just start quickly recording, trying to answer your questions in order to just get the information out there, since sometimes it's just better to talk about things than try to create an entire production around them. So yeah, expect a monthly Ask Virtual Dreamers Anything video to be coming out going forward. We will begin with the first one on November 30th of this month. In order to see your question answered, you'll have to post the question down below, either in the comments section to the more recent prologue videos or any other videos that have been released that month, since that's where I'll be drawing the vast majority of my questions from. Alternatively, you can send the questions to me via Twitter or by using the hashtag AskVirtualDreamers, and I'll try to see if I can find your questions from there. In addition, you can also try to ask questions in the Discord server. So yeah, everybody, Twitter, Discord server, or comments section. Make your choice. Basically, just try to find a way to contact me with your questions. Thank you very much, Virtual Dreamers, for all of your efforts in the community quest so far. And just to kind of report in on the results of the last community quests, unfortunately, you guys kind of failed on that one. The community quest, the bands system, required that you guys answer the 4 questions. The answers to that quest were Thalmic Labs, North, Mayo, and Vocals. Unfortunately, you guys didn't manage to get that one, and I kind of lament to be cutting things off at this point. But as I mentioned earlier, I really am just trying to kind of increase how much more I can kind of divide things up into much more granular and more handleable packets, just so I can focus on getting things out much more quickly. So yeah, everybody, I am unfortunately retiring the normal quest system, but I thank you all for your efforts prior to this. And do note, I am taking the efforts to start compiling all of the data for all of those previous completions and bringing them all onto a page that will be available on the website. So to all the clearers who have managed to clear quests in the past, your efforts are not forgotten. They will be memorialized on that website for everybody to remember. Thank you very much again for all of your efforts. Well then, everybody, that just about does it. Till next time, my fellow adventurers and dreamers, this has been Gregory, logging out.